Hello out there. This is DZ, your overlord Deseran, and welcome to Growing My Grandpa. Alright, so this is the newest game by Yames. I haven't the slightest clue what to expect here, and well, okay, it said that it's a bit longer. We're probably looking at like a 90-minute game in this case. I think it said something like that. Okay. Let's go with that, I guess. Disable or change shader intensity. So wait, if I hit F3 then when it... Shader turned off. Intensity is high. Low. Okay. We'll go with low for now, just because I guess we'll start in the middle. Okay, so again, newest game by Yames. No clue what to expect. I think it's a point-and-click adventure, but it's got some other elements to it, and that's about it. And like I said, it's a longer game, so I'm going to try and do this all in just one go, and then break this into probably 2 episodes. 2 parts. But let's just get on in and see what this is about. Would you like to view the tutorial regarding basic game mechanics? Yes. Please read. This game is designed to be played with a mouse. The input required of you is based around clicking mouse buttons. Right mouse button will change cursor's image and function. Okay. Although when pointing, indicated by the index finger, can you, the player, interact with certain menu buttons and prompts. Please click below in the pointing mode to continue. Second cursor mode is indicated by the cursor's image featuring a hand extending all fingers. This mode concerns interacting with objects inside the world, mainly picking up an object and moving it into another position. To continue, please pick up the piece of trash on the right, I guess this, and place it in the trash can on the left. Okay, remember the right mouse button will change the cursor's mode, but when holding something, the mode cannot be changed until the cursor is not holding something. Oh! That's it. There will be many situations in Growing My Grandpa that will require you to pick things up, place things, grab things, or give things. Don't be afraid to experiment and keep an open mind about using your hand. Please click the button below to continue. Remember, menu buttons must be clicked in the pointer mode. What the hell? In order to expedite the cleaning process, you can use digits 1, 2, and 3 on your keyboard's number row at the top of the keyboard to reposition the trash can below. Try moving the can to the right of the screen, 3 on your keyboard in order to continue. Okay. Well done. Please click continue button, move on, and please remember menu buttons must be clicked in the pointer mode. Okay. A variety of video options can be changed at any time through use of the function keys. Yep. Disable shader effects. F4 to cycle through display resolution options. F5 change cursor types. There are 3 cursor color schemes available, plus 3 left-handed variants of each color scheme. By default, Growing My Grandpa's display is scaled up by a factor of 2, and the shader is set at low. Configure overlay options, or options overlay. Hovering over the small question mark on top right press available configuration options. Try hovering over it. This will be available at all times during the game. Yes, that's it. Okay. Thus ends the tutorial. I hope you enjoy Growing My Grandpa. Infinite thanks to my patrons and supporters for believing in me and my work. Yames. Oh. Alright, here we go. Week 1. Okay. Oh. I excused Adrienne during music class today and spoke with her about her recent string of demerits. It was our first time meeting outside of our quarterly evaluations, and I believe it went well. I can certainly understand Mrs. Richardson's classroom observations concerning Adrienne's emotional state. She was, of course, intensely shy when we first met. As I understand it, she is similarly withdrawn in her classroom activities and only speaks or acts when she absolutely must. Some things she simply will not do. Instead of participating in mandatory group activities, she will sit alone and accept that she will receive a demerit. Before the meeting, I read Mrs. Richardson's parent-teacher report, which allowed me to estimate some about Adrienne's home life. The parents are well educated and come from a prestigious background, but they lack time to properly nurture Adrienne. She is often alone, and when she is not, the parents seem to not understand the importance of warmth and affirmation when dealing with someone so young. Okay. Having two parents of this reserved and icy temperament exacts an inhibition in a child. The child's imagination is subdued, but only ostensibly, for it eventually finds its way into regular life. I surmised that I would be able to reach out to Adrienne by way of make-believe. Okay, interesting way to go about it. How are you liking your new house? You've told me you used to live close by, but it still can be a big adjustment. A new room, a new school. The basement. I like that. The basement? Yeah, well, there's a lot of cool stuff. Mom and Dad sent me down there. Your mom and Dad made you go? Yeah, but there's lots of cool stuff. Well, that's not why they sent me down there, though. Why did they send you down there? Fighting. They were fighting, shouting. I came in to help, and they shouted at me. They said, go clean up downstairs. So I went. That sounds tough. Did they fight a lot? No. Well, they... It's all right, Adrienne. Maybe you can tell me more about the basement instead? Okay. Well, it was weird at first, the stuff down there, but cool. I found something living, sort of. That's very interesting, Adrienne. Please tell me more. By indulging her in her fantasies and stories, I was able to glean more of an understanding of Adrienne's anxiety surrounding her home and parents. The symbols of Adrienne's story seem to carry their own traumatic weight, and her exploration of the basement may very well be a vehicle for the conveyance of her anxiety. Whatever might come of our next meeting, whether she will engage in similar make-believe, I will set down her story here. Adrienne's story begins with her delving into the basement with a trash receptacle and the goal of cleaning up. She discovered one of the walls was covered in plastic bags. She went to investigate, intent on tearing away whatever they covered. Oh. Trash bags. Okay. Is that the only thing I can... Okay. Oh. Upon removing the plastic trash bags from the wall, she noticed their interior lining was covered in glass. Like a window, I offered. No, she said, like a mirror. Reflecting inward towards the animal they covered. I gently asked her what exactly this animal was. Here's where the material reality of the story took a turn for the explicitly fantastic and imaginary. Upon her discovery of it, at her gaze, it grew or extended, its shaggy hair itself. Hair like the fur of a dog, I offered. No, she said. Not the fur of a dog, nor the hair on her head. It grew out towards her, the animal's hair reaching out. It was hard, standing almost straight, like the hair on a brush. A bristle, I offered. Yes, she said. She was very afraid at first, but then very curious. I asked her what else was in the room. More things hidden away, she said, things of Grandpa's as well. First she found a hidden passage under the stairs. Inside were strange dolls, magic objects, naked, faceless figures. I heard these cryptic utterances and merely nodded. In order to keep the game of make-believe going, I only pressed for details where I thought necessary. The faceless dolls could be a simple metaphor for the anonymity she feels in her own home. The hidden passage, I am unsure of what to make of that. The revealing of the concealed seems to be thematic in her fantasy. The door under the stairs is but one example. What the hell? Question mark. Oh, okay. Trash pile. Question mark. So what's the other way? Nothing here. The darkness of the shadowy corner unnerves you. You cannot explore here without some form of light. Question mark? Oh, this is the door. Okay, trash pile. Huh. Once she removed the panel and found the magical hidden passage, she was very specific about what she took. She found a magic book, a magic doll, a photo of her late grandpa, and magic glue. Take doll. A slouching doll. Its material is rough and coarse. Search closet. Glue. All-purpose glue. All clean. The space will not be dirty again until next week. A photo of your late grandfather. Read now. Mr. PhD. On the reverse side of the photograph, there is more text. Good luck on your trip to the Urals. Stay warm. Papers crudely bound together to form a book. Eurasian steppe shamanism and the fusiform gyrus. An interdisciplinary study in sympathetic magic. A dissertation, Jacob Hart. The impetus of this research was the recognition of a particular pattern in fragments of documents relating to magic and magico-religious practices. Numerous sources were drawn from commentaries on laws relating to the banning of sorcery and necromancy, compilations of folk charms relating to love spells, hagiographs of saints and their encounters with devils. The list spans many centuries and a great distance, from the Levant to the Khazar Khaganate to the border of the modern nation states of Russia and Kazakhstan today. From this paper trail arose a consistent account about a certain form of magic relating to the binding of demons to a sorcerer's will. A demon called the Heaven of Needles, or the Angel of Needles, was known to be kept best by shamanic shamanic keepers or wards who suffer from face blindness, prosopagnosia, whether by birth or through developmental causes like a stroke or head injury. It was known to be extremely effective but terribly dangerous, so much so that it became outlawed several times and was generally a popular scapegoat relating to unexpected death. What? Okay. This nexus of magico-religious meaning-making, sorcery regarding human-related desires, and the history and science of neurological disorders related to the fusiform gyrus is where its subject of this dissertation will reside. I will outline further and then analyze the historical sources I mentioned previously. Then I will go into the neurology of mystic and magico-religious experiences. After that, I will detail my ongoing correspondence with a resident of the Ural Mountain region who is an expert folklorist and keeper of traditions he claims have been passed down through his extended family for generations. Did you say Ural Mountain? Boop. I interrupted to ask what she did with these magical, mysterious materials. Grow Grandpa, she explained plainly, and then without missing a beat, she continued on with her story. Feeling this was a potent symbol, I stopped her again to ask what she meant. Somewhat puzzled, I did not understand. Immediately, she explained slowly. Grandpa lives in the cage in the other room, the cage behind the door. They grew people in the cage. What? What? This? A hastily written note. Oh, wait, no! Whoops. Do I have an inventory? Shit. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. I need the thing. I need the thing. No, how do I back up? Shit. Do I need to restart? Note on an experiment, 1-4. Oh shit, I missed a note. For the sake of university policy and the health of any future career you hope to have, you will abide by the non-disclosure contract you have signed. Do not break the anthropoidic vacuum without my prior consultation and approval. Any anthropoidic forms brought into the enclosure area must not be left unattended. When not in dormancy, the sample will attempt to take anthropoid shells. Please see shell notes for more on that. Oh shit. Is there a way to restart? Crap, I didn't read the note. Hang on. Is there a... I need to... I need to restart. Crap. Shit. Fudge it. Okay. I missed one note. I need to not do it again. Because I'm an idiot. The sample's exposure to some of our neuronal activity is unavoidable. However, the speed at which its desirous yield is produced can be dampened by several precautions regarding libidinal and emotional urges. Keep conversation not related to lab work to a minimum. If you begin to suspect you are developing attachments to your colleagues, contact me as soon as possible. Ritual behavior with the simple trading bargaining will result in dismissal from the project. The precise mechanism of the exchange of symbols and gifts required for a requested desire sealed is not known, and even then anecdotal accounts of success are illegible, end in violent death. Regarding growth cycles, every time Whiskers regenerates and leaves dormancy, it is to be logged as a new propagation. The sample's bodily existence cannot be illegible, i.e., a part cannot be cut from the whole, so there can only be one living propagation. Propagations are to be terminated after 5 weeks. Any further development puts us at risk. Termination procedures will be posted and followed with extreme care. With all of that out of the way, I want to welcome you to the project. I look forward to working with you, Dr. Hart. Beyond the door, in the room, the cage was hidden, concealed in another cloak of inward-facing mirrors. What the fuck? A hidden cage lined with mirrors. It is strange, almost poetic, the elaborate fantasy of self-reflection, concealment, captivity. I don't think this is... I don't think this is in her head, man. This isn't... I don't think this is a... At the cage, she finally cast her spell. But it was confusing, she confided at first. She took the magic doll, the magic glue, and the photo of her grandpa, and she combined them, and she wished very hard. I can only assume in this fantasy that next her wish would come true. In what child's story would it not? Generic human figure, particular human representation. Glue together. A tangible symbol of intention and desire. She put Grandpa in the cage, assuming that was part of the ritual. She was not clear on how it worked. What precise instructions she could glean from her grandfather's magic book was complicated by her reading comprehension. She wished with all her heart, and then she told me she waited a while for something, anything to happen, and after that time she began to cry. I cried really hard, she said. I wanted Grandpa to be back. I wanted my parents to stop being so mean. And it hurt me. It hurt me wish for Grandpa to come back for my parents to be different. I could feel it through the walls, and it felt me through the air. I asked her what exactly she meant. She could only repeat what she said. By this time, lunch was almost over. I said goodbye to Adrienne, and she left to rejoin her class. I was left to consider our conversation. I believe the storytelling strategy I have employed was not unfruitful, but I must probe deeper if I can. Although I can be sure of nothing I interpret, the impressions I get may begin to help me get an idea of the right questions to ask. Knowledge you acquired this week has given you access to certain topics or keywords you can discuss with Grandpa. What? You've gained the conversation topic wish. Consider discussing this when Grandpa emerges. You also gain the following keyword. Gain the conversation topic shell. Considering discussing this when Grandpa emerges. Week 2. What the fuck? I'm really annoyed that I missed that one note. Okay. I met again with Adrienne in order to address her emotional outbursts in the past few weeks. It is our second time meeting, and while it is standard practice to have multiple sessions with a troubled student, as I assemble a report for the counseling department, I could not help but think, as we sat down in my office, that Adrienne already seemed to show a remarkable change in self-esteem and confidence, and perhaps my and Mrs. Richardson's estimation of her as emotionally disturbed was erroneous. The paralyzing shyness and withdrawn attitude Adrienne possessed last week was not entirely diminished, but she seemed to hold herself differently this week. However, this only lasted as long as our conversation pertained to initial introductory pleasantries. When I began once again asking about her parents, her feelings regarding her new school, and her new home, she quickly lost what new confidence she had gathered up and withdrew again into herself. So once again, I partook in some collaborative make-believe. But this time, I was aided by the fact that I had managed to do some research into Adrienne's grandfather, and I had some insight into what she might actually be finding in the basement. Now, this may be overstepping my bounds some as a school counseling caseworker, but this was all in the service of making Adrienne comfortable and happy in this learning environment. In any case, I was able to dig up information regarding the grandfather by inquiring at the university in town. Not that I make it a habit of sleuthing, but I had a suspicion the grandfather was a professor there, or at least some sort of researcher, due to the fact that the newly constructed laboratory on the campus I drive by every day bears his name in memorial. He was some sort of anthropologist, or linguist, or neuroscientist. I did not have to dig that deep before the scope of his work became dizzying, and I ran up against the limits of my undergraduate education. But back to the make-believe. What is your grandpa like? Is he a smart man? Not anymore, but I'm teaching him. So he's grown a good deal then? You've been feeding him well? Yeah, he's getting bigger, but he has a lot of room in his cage. He's still behind the bars? Yeah, well, he might be able to climb out eventually. There's this vent in the ceiling. Well, perhaps if he climbs out, I could meet him someday. Yeah, maybe, but he's not ready to leave. He can't take care of himself. I have to feed him. Pick up after him. Ah, you store the food in your lunchbox? That's nice of you to share. He can almost talk. You cannot speak with him? He doesn't. He doesn't have a mouth, sort of. But how do you feed him? He has a mouth on the outside, on his shell, or the stuff that is his skin. I'm a little confused. Maybe you can go through a typical day with your grandpa? Okay. I asked her to explain how exactly she goes about growing her grandpa, and Adrienne began another tale. According to Adrienne, in the week that had passed, much had changed in the basement. Okay. Oh, that's the lunchbox. Examine. The hairy thing that was here before is gone. Okay. You should go see Grandpa first. Enter. Wake Grandpa. It was scary at first, she said. The way he moved, the way the doll's skin covered him. I wanted to interject. This somehow seemed inappropriate, but I kept listening. When I look at him, she continued, when I think about him, he grows and moves. It's like he is growing for me. So he's growing bigger now, I asked. Yes, she said, bigger every day. This begins the actual growing part of growing your grandpa. Beneath the doll's burlap skin, the follicles knit together what resembles a proper person, your grandpa. You're in charge of its cognitive development and diet until it is able to sustain itself. Currently, you're observing Grandpa. Please click the arrow back button below for a brief tutorial of your duties as caretaker. Oh! Here we can see a variety of options regarding growing your grandpa. Go to Grandpa, go to Study Corner, go to Kitchen Corner, Help, Save Game, Exit Game. Feed Grandpa. O2, acceptable foods eaten. Seek out things to feed Grandpa. Teach Grandpa. O2, words taught. Find vocabulary cards to help Grandpa speak. Explore the basement. Highlight in red are objectives related to feeding and teaching Grandpa. Important messages regarding Grandpa's recent activity will also appear here. You will need to find it food and learning material before you can move on to the next week. Some foods will make Grandpa happy, others merely content. Some food will make Grandpa disgusted to the point of nausea. Learning material is also scattered throughout the basement. Seek out vocabulary cards intended to help teach English and basic anthropoidic concept formation. What the fuck? The options highlighted in red are related to navigating around Grandpa's enclosure. Go to Grandpa option will let you perform all actions directly related to Grandpa. Feeding, teaching, observing, etc. Accessing the study corner will let you go over any documents you pick up as the weeks go by. It's a good idea to learn about the work of the people who last occupied this space. Accessing kitchen corner will let you search for food in the old refrigerator and prepare food for Grandpa if need be. The help button will replay this tutorial. Save game button will save your current progress. You can only have one save file at a time, so if you have saved data, you will be asked if it is okay to overwrite it. Exit game button will take back to the main menu. More buttons may or may not appear depending on your development of Grandpa, so watch out for them. One final note. Take care to explore the basement at your leisure. However, due to the entropic nature of clutter and trash, different weeks may allow you to find different things you had not previously discovered. Good luck. Study corner? Look over documents. Hastily written note. Read more. I have repeatedly called your homes to no avail, and so I am forced to leave this here for you all. I found William sitting in the corner of the enclosure area, seeming severely concussed. Whiskers was gone, in none of its usual hiding places. I immediately suspected the worst. The project thus must be suspended for now. I am leaving up the usual mirrored coverings we use to keep the anthropoidic void sealed. I have done my best to lock up everything on such short notice. It is a hasty fix, but it will require some time to find a more permanent remedy. I am honestly hoping you do not find this note, as I intend to lock the house down too. I intend to race off to you to retrieve your lockbox keys. Do not worry about William's key. It and the rest of this equipment is almost certainly deep within Whiskers now. I pray you do not enter this room. No matter how it may appear, William cannot be helped, and is only being kept alive as a means of continuing predation on the rest of us. I will say once again, no matter what state you may encounter William in, he cannot be helped. I have sympathy for the young man, I truly do, but I found on his person several photos of his late sister, which would imply certain risks he knew he was taking. Oh no. Our extant research materials have now become possible liabilities, either criminal or professional in nature, so I have stashed them away. I believe I let you all know how I might do this if we were ever to experience an event such as this. I hope you all remember what I told you. So long then, Dr. H. Examine educational poster. A set of procedures regarding disposal/interment. The researcher will seal off the enclosure bars, ensuring minimal gas leakage during the later fumigating process, and then retrieve the burn barrel and place it near the enclosure. What? Allow at least 48 hours of time where the current growth cycle experiences no human-related stimuli. Do not enter the enclosure area nor any part of the basement. Ideally, you will not be on the grounds at all. After 48 hours, 2 researchers will enter the basement wearing their assigned mirror mask, mirror apron, and powered air-purifying respirator. The researcher will use the vent system to fumigate the enclosure area. Wait 30 minutes and then use the fan system to ventilate the enclosure. Keep the fans running during steps 3 through 4. What the hell? Re-enter the enclosure area wearing your assigned mirror masks and aprons. The organism may or may not be in complete dormancy. If it is not in full dormancy, be assured that its capacity to act against you will be greatly diminished. With your assigned powered drills, quickly remove any enclosure bars needed to access the organism. Put them aside for later reinstallation. What the hell is happening? Put the organism into the burn barrel. Incinerate the organism thoroughly. Wait for any smoke to be properly cleared by the fan system. Turn off the fans. One researcher will retrieve the nucleus from the ash and place it in the mirror box. The other researcher will sift through the ash and place any other substantial remains in the biohazard bin in the room outside of the enclosure area. The bin is locked for safety purposes. The code is 323245. The researchers will fill out a termination form and leave it for Dr. Hart. You've gained the conversation about biohazard bin. Consider discussing this when Grandpa emerges. Okay, wait, so... Three, 23245. Okay. What the... All clean. The space will not be dirty again until next week. Cashews. Looks edible. Grandpa might like this. An account of an acquisition. Damn it! Press the wrong button. Acquisition note 1. Okay, read more. It was said to pass from one family of steppe people to another, but pressed on its ultimate origin, illegible, somewhere to the south, coiled in a bowl covered in incantations, buried upside down by a graveyard, a common late antiquity demon trap. The keeper, an elderly man in failing health, was ready to expound on and on about the dangers of the organism, but when I asked more pointed questions about the history of its acquisition, I was given curt responses that had a way of circling back to vague warnings. Oh, okay. Warnings, huh? Oh, wait. Okay, no. Oh, whoops. Linguistics module, Grandpa, vocabulary card, Grandpa. Teach Grandpa this word to read the notes of past educators. Okay. You remove the taped down fabric to reveal the cabinet's wooden bottom. Oh. Notation regarding sample exoskeletons. What the hell? Research participants, please take note. Each growth from a cycle does not require a shell, but you may find the sample will often try and seize on something somewhat flexible it can grow into, along with any desirous yield it may generate. Or else it will move from one shell to the next as it outgrows them. In the small amount of time I have spent with it in preparation, I have noticed it tends towards human forms. However, we should keep a tight lid on the anthropoidic seal in order to be cautious before we begin to experiment with exposing it long-term to anthropoid stimuli. Dr. Hart. What the... I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm reading or playing. Well, I mean, I know what I'm playing, but you know what I mean. Note regarding cleanup procedures. Read now. To my colleagues, I don't mean to be overly severe in tone, but Dr. Hart's work is very important, and the material we are working with is potentially very dangerous. I'll be handing out a copy of this one or a copy of this note as a reminder to everyone. I am not trying to single any particular person out. We all have misconceptions about the nature of this project from time to time. With that out of the way, here are some things to keep in mind. As I take a light, small drink. The active growth must be thoroughly terminated via the correct procedures at the very least 4 weeks after dormancy is interrupted. It doesn't matter what you've done or haven't done regarding tests or procedures or how much the anthropoidic vacuum has been disrupted. We are not ready to go beyond 4 weeks at this point. A step-by-step guide to termination has been posted by the enclosure wall. Please, please, please do not place the educational posters over this posting. 2. Do not disrupt the anthropoidic vacuum without Dr. Hart's prior consultation and approval. In case of any emergency where the vacuum is disrupted, put on your equipment and begin the lockdown procedure. Make an extensive note of when and how the breach occurred. Number 3, if you find the habitat empty, page Dr. Hart immediately, but do not attempt to speak with anyone else. This thing can get very smart. I'm sure you're all well aware from the stories we heard on our acquisition trip. The greatest caution should be used when dealing with a potential aggressive mimicry scenario. Please seek me out if you have any more questions. William. Okay. Save game, I guess? Game saved. Go to kitchen corner. Search upper fridge. Lettuce. It looks edible. Grandpa might like this. Search lower fridge. Brown banana. It looks edible. Grandpa might like this. Prepare food. Save. Help. Go to Grandpa. Observe. Attempt to communicate. Teach Grandpa. Feed Grandpa. Back. Well, okay, hang on. Observe. You examine Grandpa, noting its movements, respiration, and general mood. Grandpa seems sort of sluggish and bored. You get the feeling it may be more content and readily cooperative once fed and taught a word or two. Okay. Save. Examine. Trash. Trash pile. All clean. Okay. Corroded battery. This isn't really food. Grandpa might eat it, however. Linguistics module. Hello. Teach Grandpa this word to read the notes of past educators. Okay. Bulbous growth. Something appears to be growing from the wall. You take a closer look. A pulsating sac. The slimy membrane that is its skin seems to contain something. It might be able to be opened with a blade. Oh. Darkness. Cabinet trash pile. Slouching under the weight of rot and refuse. Oh, whoa, 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 whoops. Okay, cabinet. Blueberries. It looks edible. Grandpa might like this. Okay. All clean. Top drawer. An account of an acquisition. Read now. Before we began, he had us all cover our faces completely. An earthenware pot was illegible, and on the inside, as we stole brief glances at it, we could see the interior was inlaid with mirrors. The illegible gave it small pieces of dough, spoiled food, chicken feed. Illegible, keeping it content. Keeper gestured towards the small bag where the food composted and told us to be careful not to feed it any meat. I asked if the rotting food was enough to sustain it, how it might get nutrients from any of this. Keeper regarded me seriously and said it did not matter what it was fed. The act of feeding itself was what mattered. The act of feeding flesh is another act, however. He then gave me another series of grave warnings regarding not keeping any animal-derived foods near where I might be keeping it. Animal-derived foods. Okay. Oh god, dolls. Bottom drawer. Huh. Okay, this one I don't know. Trash pile.